So, Brandon, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today, we're talking about the evolution, challenges and empowerment of the LGBTQ community. Okay? And I know you're a proponent for the community. And so
Yeah.
can you tell people who you are and what you do here on Substack?
Well, my name is Brandon Ellrich. My main publication is Brandon Ellrich is So Gay. And I mainly write I write a lot of satire and humor. But I also write articles that are important to the gay community, the LGBTQ plus community. I commonly will insert some kind of satire or sarcasm or something in there just to, lighten the mood, because some of the subjects can be pretty heavy, but a lot of them are serious and they need to be discussed.
Absolutely. I like to address the elephant in the room because if we don't, that's usually why we usually continue to have trauma throughout our lives, okay? By not addressing these issues, okay? Regardless of how it make people feel, we need to address it because it's a part of the reality in the world in which we live, correct?
That's right.
Right. So when we talk about the LGBTQ community, okay, it's one of courage, identity, and the pursuit of dignity, right? And from the hidden circles of global advocacy, okay, the journal reflects resilience and face systemic oppression. Okay, as we know, when we look back at history, we talk about 1924. That was when the Society for Human Rights out of Chicago became first known as the U.S. Gay Rights Organization. Isn't that correct?
Well, I don't know the specific years or anything, but
Yeah.
I'll believe you on that.
Okay. But now this you do know about 1969 when they had the Stonewall
Right.
riots, okay? That's a modern movement in the LGBTQ equality.
Right.
You wanna talk about that?
Um, I well, I should have prepared a little more for that part, but I don't know a lot about like the history. I haven't studied up a lot on the history of Stonewall and everything. I've just heard about it and how like the Pride parades were started. Pride was started as a protest, because our rights were being taken away, and basically it was a march to uh, put ourselves in view and say, hey, we're here and we're human just like everybody else. And we deserve
Absolutely.
rights like everybody else.
Absolutely. So would you say that movement was similar to the civil rights movement? Was it before or was it during or slightly after?
Well, actually, let's see. Civil rights, I guess it would been slightly after, but I mean, there's some overlap, obviously. But yeah, I've always felt kind of a relatability with the Black community. Kind of I've always gotten along with. I've known several Black guys and kind of dated a few, but I always felt kind of somewhat of a relatability because even though, I mean, I can't say that our struggles are the same. Obviously they're not. I could go into a place and try to at least pretend that I'm not gay, but you know, Black people can't do that. You can't go into a place and pretend that you're somebody you're not. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
That part I understand, but I'm not totally understanding why a black person couldn't go in and pass.
Well, like if you were going into a bar or something that was in kind of a racist kind of area, or
Okay.
you know what I mean? I could go into a place that was kind of like homophobic, and I might be
Mhm.
able to get away with not presenting as gay. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
But
But how does that make you feel though, as being out, going into a place like that, and then have to go back in the closet per
yeah, I
se?
mean, it's definitely not what I want to do. I mean, I want to be myself wherever I go,
Right.
but sometimes it's just not safe. There are some places where I can go in especially in a rural or conservative area. And if I'm completely out, if people recognize that I'm gay, that's not always, it's not always safe, you know?
Right, right, right.
Because well, just a couple weeks ago, on the 12th was marked the 27th anniversary of the murder of Matthew Shepard. He grew
Mhm.
up in Wyoming in a very rural area, and he was in a bar. Guys there knew that he was gay, and they pretended to be gay and to lure him into their truck, and took him out in the middle of nowhere, beat him almost to death, tied him to a fence, and left him there to die. You know, if at that time, if I were to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, that could have easily happened to me. You know, so there are some places and some people that you're around that it's not always safe to just be who you are,
I can
because yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I can attest to that because a lot of places that where I worked for, the military, I was the only female, and a lot of times I was the only black. Okay,
right.
so I understand completely. Okay, and that's when your intuition becomes more keen and listening to your body. So tell me, how do you safeguard yourself when you're going out to these places alone?
I mean, I know generally the area where I'm going to be going. You know, I usually don't just go to a new place in a new city or whatever by myself. Just depending on where it is, what area it is. I mean, I live in Missouri. It's a red state, you know, and I mean, you can kind of, I don't like to assume a lot, but you can kind of guess what side of the aisle they lean, who they might have voted for in the last election, and what kind of things they believe. So it's, you have to kind of be careful when you're especially in rural areas that are known to be conservative. Um, and it's sometimes not safe to go by yourself. Now, if I were in a bigger city, if I were to go to Kansas City or St. Louis and go to a bar, I would probably feel a little more comfortable. Or I might go to a bar that's specifically like a gay bar, and I would feel like I was safe there. When I go to pride events, I'm completely comfortable there because everybody there's, in a similar kind of situation, demographic. So it's a lot easier at those kinds of things that are specifically geared toward the LGBTQ plus community.
Just a question, not to be insensitive or anything like that. Wouldn't it be safer just to go to a gay bar versus a rural bar that may or may not have, where you're putting yourself in more danger?
It would, yeah. I mean, if you're sometimes they're not available. They're not anywhere
Okay.
close to you, you know. Like
Okay.
where I
Okay.
live is very rural and there aren't any gay bars around here. I have to go at least drive at least an hour to find one, you know.
Okay.
I would still like to be able to socialize, around where I live, but sometimes, you just kind of have to be careful when you're doing that. That makes sense.
It does make sense. Growing up in Detroit, safety is always first, okay, before anything else. If I'm unsafe, I can't do nothing. So I understand completely. Okay, because you always have to have eyes in the back of your head, who's looking, who's watching all this other stuff, and and who's talking crap, and you just never know when something's going to jump off. Okay, and you
Right.
always want to know where the X's are so you can get out of Dodge if you need to. So
Yeah.
yeah, and the thing of it is, when you look at all of these things, today approximately 9.3% Americans identify as LGBTQ. Okay, while the visibility is increasing, progress remains uneven across all regions, races, and gender identities. Okay, so you're you wanting you LGBTQ community wanting to come out of the closet, uh put do you f- put does it you feel it puts you at danger just by doing that?
Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, we've seen several examples of people who were beaten up, uh, even killed just because they were gay or trans or whatever it is. I mean, even not that long ago, there was the shooting in a bar in Florida that was a gay bar, and a man went in and killed, was shooting a bunch of people in there. I mean, that was just a few years ago. I can't remember what year it was, but um, anyway, yeah. And Matthew Shepard, it was 27 years ago. 27 years. I mean, that's. I don't think that's really that long ago for that kind of thing to be happening. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. I do think I might have veered off from from your question actually, but I guess going into places that are unsafe. But yeah, that's still happens today. We still have that fear today.
Even more so today with the things going on in people's minds. Okay, people are unstable. Okay,
Yeah,
and
right,
and they run across you. It might trigger them some kind of way from something from their childhood or something they experienced, and you become a victim. I'm just saying, or any of us can become a victim. Okay,
right.
so always being
Yeah,
conscious about that, right?
yeah. There's a lot of homophobia, a lot of racism, and that gets passed down usually from those people's parents, or it's part of their religious upbringing. There, of course, a lot of Christian religions believe that homosexuality is wrong. Um, they even, as far as racism goes, they believe it's wrong to have interracial marriages. Some of them, that's not biblically based, but it's still up. Yeah, right. It's still up there, and they're still passing it down to their kids and et cetera, et cetera.
You're right, because my father, he was he grew up in the he was born in the 1920s. Okay, he lived in Arcola, Mississippi. He said he was ran out of of there I know a lot of blacks left the South and moved to the North because they were looking for better opportunities for themselves and their families. Okay. So my father told me straight out he didn't like white people. He was racist. He was a black Archie Bunker. Okay. And he says because they ran him out of Mississippi because they lynched a lot of blacks in Mississippi. So I I really couldn't say uh anything about his experience and then things like that. I didn't criticize it because I said to myself, if I went through the same thing he went through, I don't know if I would
Yeah.
feel the same way or not. So I who am I to judge? Okay, I have my
Right.
own cross. I have my own crosses to bear. But what I did say that I am going to judge people not by the color of their skin, but how they treat me. Okay? How you treat me. Period.
Right. Right.
So um, when I grew up, only white person I knew at that time was the babysitter. She came and my father asked her to come in and feed me lunch when I come home, uh, for lunch. So that's the only white person I had ever experienced until I went to really work for the Corps of Engineers. Okay, so all the things I had learned, I had to unlearn. Okay, period.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I couldn't have stayed at that job. I would have been fired if I had to did everything my father said to do. I'm like, no, no. So what I'm saying is, when my father put me out, okay, he didn't put me out, but he was going to shoot me. So I left and I lived on the streets. Okay, and the people that I came across was the unrepresented people, like that look like me, look like you, and those are the people that helped me. Okay, to put my scattered life back together after I was almost shot at. So you never know um, who you might need help from. So don't judge a person by its cover. They say don't judge a book by its cover, and you don't
Right.
judge because God bring people to your life for a reason, and they might just be there to just uplift you for that minute and move on to their next task. Okay. So my father, being a minister, gay people, they abomination. It's
Yeah.
you're going to hell. You're going to hell. And he the one should have been going to hell because he was abusing me and my stepmother and womenizing all the women in the church that he could find. Okay. He would he would wait till the husband go to work and then he come over to give them some prayer. Yeah, he was probably giving them more than prayer. Okay. Anyway, so
Yeah.
the religious is what I'm saying. They the ones who putting all this crap in our heads, yet and still they doing all this crap on the side. Okay. So no, it
Yeah.
don't work like that.
It was the
Go ahead.
same way growing up. My dad was racist, and I grew up in a very rural area. I had a very small school. There might have been one or two black people in the whole school, and yet, I knew he was racist. He would tell jokes and things like that, but I knew from a young age that that was wrong. And I don't know. I can't say how I grew up the way I did with him the way that he was. I mean, I've resented my dad a lot because he was very different than me. He wanted to raise me as going, he was a farmer, hunting and fishing and that kind of thing, and I wasn't interested in any of that. And he didn't have any uh, he didn't have any interest in anything that I wanted to do. And we just were at odds all the time. And maybe that was part of it. Him being racist, I knew I wanted to be completely opposite than that, you know? And in a way, I'm glad for that. I'm glad I didn't grow up the way that he did, or to become the way that he was, you know? And the same way with the homophobia. Yeah, again, like you said, in the church, they taught that it was abomination, even though, eating pork was an abomination too, but they still ate plenty of bacon. And,
And
eventually
drank
I got
plenty
to
of
the,
liquor.
yes, yes, they would drink. Yeah. drinking
Okay.
alcohol, get drunk.
As soon as they leave the
Eventually,
church, they're going to the casino and get a
bars.
bottle of liquor and
Yeah,
whatever else. Okay, so you're gonna sit and criticize, be in criticism of other people? Really?
yeah. Take the log out of your own eye before you pick at the mote out of someone else's eye.
We did have one gay guy that was at the church. They didn't bother him because he was a treasurer, okay? And he tithed.
He
And he
held the
tithed,
money.
okay? Exactly.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
when it's convenient, they turn their head. Oh, we don't see that.
Mm,
We don't see that. Okay.
yeah, exactly.
See how hypocritical people can be. It's like, okay, whatever. Okay, you turn your head here, you don't see that, but you see this over here. You see what I did, okay? And then you take me and hold my feet to the fire, okay? And everybody else they put up on a pedestal. I'm like, okay, whatever, y'all do you. What I wanted to talk about is the hate crimes. Okay, it shows like sexual orientation biases. Okay, and gender identity biases. Like in 2010, it was like 1,470 offenses. 2015, it went down to 1,219. Okay, then it's kept going down. In 2016, it was 1,076. And then it went back up in 2021 to 1,707 for single bias incidents. Then in 2022, it went up to 1944. Okay. 2023 went up to 2,402 incidents. And now it went down to 2010. Okay. So, from what I'm seeing in the workforce, because they got rid of collective bargaining, these offenses are going to go up higher now because there are no protections for employees, regardless if you're black, regardless if you're gay, regardless if you're older like me. Okay, there are no more protections, so that number is going to rise. You're going to see that. Okay, with all these offenses.
Yeah, you can see that
And
in the changes of administration. I don't want to get too political or anything, but when certain people take office and have certain biases, their followers are going to follow suit. And if they see laws being changed that are against certain races or certain communities, like the gay community, they are also going to follow suit and kind of take matters into their own hands in some respects. The hate crimes,
absolutely.
yeah,
And as we know, they're always putting in legislation, the Republican Party, to eliminate, all these protections that was given during the Democratic office. Okay, like for
yeah.
example, like marriage. What you call that?
Oh,
Where
the
you can
right, the Respect for Marriage Act.
Right. They're putting bills in to eliminate all of these things
Yes,
that was put into place. So to take us back, make America great again, take us back to the 1929s. Okay.
right.
So when we talk about the political landscape, the ones that has been most helpful to the LGBTQ community is the Democratic Party. Okay. Because they were advocates for the Equality Act. Okay. And to ban conversion therapy and anti-discrimination protections. Okay, so the least helpful has been the Republican Party was responsible for recent anti-LGBTQ bills in state legislatures. Okay. And only 7% of Republicans view their party as supportive of LGBTQ uh, people. I don't care what they tell you when they're out there campaigning. I'm telling you what the data shows.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned Matthew Shepard and the murder. Um, and Matthew's mother kept trying to fight to get the hate crime law passed because there was a hate crime law in place, but it didn't include sexual orientation or gender. And
Mm,
when that happened, when her son was murdered, she kept advocating for that law to be changed, to be updated. And it took, well, about 11 years. And finally, when Barack Obama was president, he signed into law a new hate crime act. And it's, I've got it right here. It said any act that includes a crime that is motivated by prejudice based on the actual or perceived race, color, religion, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability of the victim. So
mm,
not only the race, but it included gender and sexual orientation too. And that was called the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act. James Byrd Jr. was murdered that same year. It was a black man who was lynched and killed. It was a horrific crime. I won't go into detail about that, but it was absolutely horrific. And so, because of his death, and Matthew Shepard's death, they updated this hate crime law. And it was I'm glad it was finally signed into law by Barack Obama. And when he signed it into law, the families of James Byrd and Matthew Shepard were there with him when he signed the bill. So I thought that was really cool.
yes, are the perpetrators still in jail?
The two that were responsible for Matthew, they were sentenced with 2 consecutive life sentences. One of them without the possibility of parole. One of them, he earlier, I believe it was just this year, he appealed to have his sentence commuted, and it was denied. So they're still in prison. As far as James Byrd, I don't know. I'd have to look that one up to see if they're still. I believe uh, the ones responsible were either still in prison or they were um, uh, on the death penalty. I'm not sure.
Well, I want to see if anybody here have any questions for you. Reverend Evelyn said you might say what happened to Matthew for those not familiar with the case.
Oh, I kind of went. I don't know if she might not have been here when I was talking about it earlier, but he there were 2 men in a bar, and they planned to they pretended like they were gay in order to lure him into the truck. And they took him out in the middle of nowhere. They beat him with a pistol and tied him to a fence and continued to torture and beat him, and then left him there to die. He was found 18 hours later, and the the officer that came up, she cut him away from the fence. He was still alive, but they took him to a hospital, and he died 6 days after the attack.
That's horrific. But I wanted to say that between 2023 and 2024, more than 500 anti-LGBTQ bills were introduced to U.S. legislation. Legal protections remain inconsistent, leaving communities exposed to systemic harm.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to repeal, like you said, they're trying to repeal the Respect for Marriage Act. There's a case by a counselor in Colorado who is trying to allow conversion therapy in Colorado. I don't know if you're very familiar with conversion therapy, but it can be torturous for people in the gay community. They will, it's sometimes very physically abusive. Um, I believe it's in Texas, some of them the parents will allow this group to come to their house, take their kids, zip tie them, and take them off, and they won't see them for another month or whatever, 2 months or whatever, how long the conversion therapy is. Conversion therapy has been um, condemned by the American Psychological Association and 28 other professional medical uh, professions, and it is it has been it's absolutely horrible. It does not work. It's all it is torture for people in the LGBTQ plus community, and yet there are still 28 states, I believe, that say that where it's still legal conversion therapy. But yeah, there's still trying to legalize it in places like Colorado. Colorado, it was banned. Conversion therapy was banned, but this Christian counselor is trying to bring it back. She
Colorado.
wants, yeah, she says it violates her free speech, that she can't perform this type of therapy with clients.
What about the gay community rights?
Right.
They don't have rights?
Apparently not.
Just like these cases come up about these people making cakes. Okay? If you don't want
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, okay, really? Okay. All right. So this is a lot of these things are taught, as we know, okay?
Right.
Because when a child's born in the world, it don't know if it's gay, straight, whatever. You see other kids, they have the colors, everybody play together, everybody get along just fine until, just like Adam and Eve, they didn't know they was naked until somebody told them.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
So it's like, let it be, like the Beatles, okay?
The Beatles song, yeah.
Yeah, let it be. Like in back in the day when you had free love, everybody loved everybody, and and we just sang and got along. Then here come up with some dissension, okay? But anyway, some of the challenges, like we talked about, is discrimination and violence. It's not going to go away. So, would you say it might be better just to stay in the closet than to have to deal with all of that violence and discrimination? I'm just asking.
Well, I mean, if you stayed in the closet, you could avoid some of that, but you also experience a lot of depression. When you have to hide who you are and pretend that you're somebody you're not, and you can't love the way you want to, you can't live your life. You end up depressed, and a lot of people end up committing suicide because they feel such shame, because it's coming from outside people telling them that they shouldn't be who they are, and they can't love who they want to love. So a lot of people think, well, why even be here? Why should I continue to live? And that's
It's
why a lot
it's
of them commit suicide.
it's
So
very, very difficult. Damned if
yeah,
you do, damned if you don't.
I Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, you can be protected from some things, but then what's the point of what's the point of living in some respects?
I hear you. Now, we talked about the hate crimes, okay? 2024 FBI data showed that 11,679 incidents nationwide, okay? 17.2% were involved with sexual orientation bias and 3.9 with gender identity bias. So, then you also have economic and workplace uh, inequalities as well, as far as with the LGBTQ uh, community. 22% adults live in poverty, and compared to 16% of the straight cisgender adults. And 47% report workplace harassment and discrimination. 21% reports being fired due to identity. See,
Yeah,
see,
I
and
oh, sorry.
I I know in the federal government, they say that we cannot discriminate against national uh,
Origin.
origin.
Hmm.
And sexual orientation is in there. Okay? The federal government, anyway. I don't know about the state and local employment where that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think it still happens even if they have rules that say that it shouldn't happen. There are a lot of employers, I think, who find reasons to fire people, that they won't admit
Of
what the
course not.
reason is. They're not
Right.
going to admit it that it's because somebody's gay, but they'll find a reason to get rid of them, just because of their own personal biases.
Well, I can attest to the place that I worked at, uh, there was only two black people, me and this guy, okay? And in the other building, which I refer to as the White House, okay? I, it was few and far between that I could see, okay? So, um they made it so difficult for me that I left. So I understand what you're saying. When somebody don't
Right,
like you for any given reason, they don't really need a reason. They'll find something.
right.
Oh, you left this on the floor? Oh no, you got to go. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they may not even fire you. Yeah, they may just make it so hard for you to work there that you'll want to leave.
Absolutely. Okay. And then I know the members of the military, okay, there was a time they say, don't ask, don't tell. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. That was during, I think, the Clinton administration. Maybe, okay? And then with this administration, no, Barack Obama said, yeah, you guys can serve. I don't care what you are. Because, like, I've
Yeah.
served two tours. I served two tours in Iraq and two tours in Israel. And I'm here to tell you, I don't care if you're pink, blue, if you're transgender, if you're bisexual. I don't care what you are. As long as you're watching my back, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't care. Okay?
Right.
What do I care? I just want to come home alive. Okay? That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've heard that recently that they want to start employing that don't ask, don't tell again. That I mean, that's just a rumor, but that the current administration wants to start implementing that again.
Well, that's better than kicking people out of the military, which is what they were talking about from the beginning when he first got
Well,
in.
yeah.
Well,
Right.
okay. And they sacrificed their lives like everyone else. Okay.
Right.
So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but we have to find ways to always protect ourselves, regardless of who we are. Okay. Because we have no protections nowhere else. They're removing all our protections. Okay.
Yeah, that's where having straight allies is so important, so critical, because we're a minority, you know. I Our voices don't get very loud, you know. We need other people to help raise those voices and raise these concerns. Vote for politicians who will advocate for us, who are not going to bring back conversion therapy, or who won't repeal the uh, the Respect for Marriage Act. We need help.
Well, I agree. I even be concerned about interracial marriage. They're trying to come out with a law to ban that. I
Uh,
will I see that coming. Okay. I'm just
well,
telling you.
yeah, that wouldn't really surprise me, I guess.
I heard that. So never underestimate. Okay. When we underestimate, we miscalculate. So we always have to have this representation. Like you said, we have these groups like the human, what do you call it? Human, I forgot what you call that organization. We have these organizations in Congress, okay, that fights for rights, for all people, okay. And is it the Human Rights Organization, Human Rights Campaign, or something like that?
That
Okay,
sounds
then you
right.
have right, and then I know RuPaul. I used to watch his show. I'm not watching TV now, but
Yeah,
RuPaul, he also gives a lot of money, to the gay community because he's affected
right,
as well. So we have to look at all these organizations. There's a lot of organizations in Hollywood as well that support LGBTQ causes. So it's about banding together, okay, and everybody doing their part. Like
right,
with the civil rights movement, with no social media, okay, they were successful. So it's no reason why the LGBTQ community can't do that themselves as well. Okay, you as an advocate, what part are you playing with making a difference for the community?
yeah. I mean, I try. A lot of what I write is entertainment and humor, but like I said, I do raise issues that affect us, and I hope that people that are not in our community, that are straight people, will still see my content and be like, he's like everybody else. It Stuff he writes is funny too, just because you don't have to be gay to laugh at my stuff. You don't.
Okay.
You can relate to me no matter what, and I would hope that people would be able to see that and do that and support me and uplift my voice. And I try to. I'm not a news presenter. I don't study up on issues in the news. There are other people who do that and who are very good at it. And I let them to have that role because I don't feel like that's my role. I'm not, I'm just not uh, like I said, I'm not a news presenter. But if there are issues that I feel strongly about, I will, write articles about them, and I try to get them out there as much as possible. And, you know, some people who aren't in the gay community, in the LGBTQ plus community. I usually say queer community because that kind of encompasses. There are just so many letters. Sometimes it's just hard. If you're trying to say LGBTQ, they're just you stumble over all those letters. I do too, but so
Okay.
I just usually like to say the queer community, and that just kind of an umbrella term. Some people may not like that, but I'm fine with it, and that's what I go with. But anyway, if you're not in the queer community, you may not know about these issues, and you may not be aware of them. And I, reading somebody like me, you'd be able to find out, oh, hey, I didn't know that. I didn't know that law was being passed. I didn't know they were talking about repealing the Respect for Marriage Act. You need to be aware of that and help us by voting for the right kind of people.
I'm gonna tell you about that. It's rigged, okay? Because that politician will come in with the right intention, Okay. But then the party will come and say, we need you to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it's not an ask, it's a tell. If you want your political career to skyrocket, you will repeal this bill. That's how it works. Okay. So you can't trust the politicians. I'm just telling you flat out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
You see
it's true.
yourself. You see, Prince Trump made a lot of promises. Okay.
Oh yeah.
How
Yeah.
how many of them did he actually follow through with? That's another thing. Okay. They tell you all this crap to get your vote. Once they get your vote, then they say, go yourself. Okay. We're going to do what we want to do. That's the
Yeah.
reality. Okay. And the lobbyists, how much control do they have? Okay. Because the money that's being taken from us, where you think that money's going? Where you think it's going? It's not going in our pockets.
No.
Okay. You got to grease the wheel to keep it moving. Okay. Moving in their direction, not ours. Okay. They give you a bunch of broken promises, and that's what you end up with. And that's the reality. Okay. So 39, when we talk about mental health and well-being, 39% of the career community plus the youth seriously considered suicide in the past year, like 12% attempted. Okay. So
Yeah.
how do we reach these people before they decide to do that? Okay. We have to look for the signs. People are suffering from depression. Okay.
Yeah.
They're changed. Maybe they've changed their routines. Okay. They isolate themselves. Okay. We need to look at these signs. Okay. And see what's wrong with you. What's going on. How can I help you? Okay. Because it's really sad. And these are barriers to affirming care perpetuated by trauma and social isolation. So we need to pay attention to these when we see our children are suffering. They're not going to necessarily tell you, okay? They don't want to worry
Yeah.
you and tell you. So we need to maybe do some interventions ourselves.
It creates
Would you agree
spaces
with that?
that, yeah, yeah, create spaces where they feel safe. Create spaces where we tell them that they're welcome no matter what. Um, in the home, making them feel like they can talk about whatever they want. Make them feel loved no matter who they are or who they love. Um, that's that's a big one. I know that's hard for a lot of parents when they have biases that they grew up with, um, to get over that and to change their mindset, how they see like the queer community. What if they were to think, what if my son or daughter was gay? How would I treat them? How would I accept them or not?
Let me tell you something. I was talking to this guy, okay? He was over here. He was a contractor. He was doing some electrical work in my house. And he and I was having a conversation during the election. And he's a Trump supporter, okay? And he said something about a gay person. And I said, what happened if your son or daughter was gay? He said, I wouldn't have nothing to do with them. I said, what? Your own child? He said he wouldn't. He would just basically write them off. He would
Yeah,
have nothing to do with them. I'm
before
sorry. Go
assembling
ahead.
that out. She was needy right now. She was like, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Oh, well, sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry. My internet just it went out. Um, I was letting my cat out. She was being very needy right then, so I needed to
It's all good.
let her outside. Yeah. I mean, I've with my own dad when I told him that I was gay, it didn't go well. You know, um, he said if you ever bring a guy home to a family dinner, you're going to be the only ones there because no one else is going to show up. And he said when he died that I wouldn't get anything, or at least not like my siblings. And it's just, those were intimidation tactics. You know, I guess he thought if if they felt that way, if I was going to be kicked out of the family, that maybe I wouldn't be gay anymore. Doesn't work that way, you know. But yeah, I can understand. I can relate to that. That there are a lot of families that are just um they would write off their own children just because of their orientation. I don't get that. That's not love. That's
What is
that's
it?
condition
I don't
that's
know what.
conditional love. It's like, I will love you if you're not this, or if you'll do this. Conditional love isn't real love.
Right, you're right. And Shar said, "I'm sorry."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry too. I wish it wasn't that way. But that's just something I have to deal with, and I move on. I live my life anyway.
You should live your life and enjoy it to the fullest, okay? Regardless of what your family or anybody else feels, okay? Because as far as I know, we only live once, okay? And and all we have is today, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the states you have to be concerned about mostly, okay, is Texas and North Carolina. Okay, there's repeat clusters of anti-drag and anti-queer threats. Okay, also Los Angeles County is anti uh, queer crimes rose 48%, the highest on record. I'm surprised because I thought that, you know, California, that area would be more progressive. Okay.
Yeah, that when you said LA, that surprised me. But I
LA
know,
County.
like, when
I don't know.
after Charlie Kirk was murdered, and uh all the Trump ordered all flags were flown at half staff. I know West Hollywood, they even lowered their pride flags half staff, which I didn't understand. I was like, why would you comply with that? That's it didn't make sense to me. I think I would have pushed back on that one, but I mean,
I'll
maybe
tell
they're
you
just
why.
choosing their battles.
Exactly. That's smart. That's a battle that's not that they know that they're not going to win. So they'll find another one down the road. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
ego is out of control.
I see different sides to that, because I think, like, if they're going to give in on a small request like that, it's kind of like a foot in the door thing. It's like, well, here, lower your flags half staff. Okay, we'll do that. Well, what about do this, and they'll and just keep working up. I mean,
It'll it'll never end.
yeah,
It'll
right.
never end
Yeah,
until the administration is out of office.
right.
Okay,
Yeah. If it's ever
they
out of office.
right because they're talking about a third what you
Yeah,
call it,
a
stint in
third
office,
term. Yeah.
which means you have to change the Constitution in order to do that, which they probably already have, in their plan. Okay, for their 2025 project, what you call it, Project 2025. It'll be
Oh,
Project
yeah.
2026 because they have to modify it to add all these changes, so they can continue uh, whatever they're doing. So another place is, they say California's sexual orientation bias is 29%. Anti-trans bias is 55%, according to the DOJ in 2023. I don't know. I never lived in California, so I wouldn't know.
Well,
Go ahead.
I, no, I was just gonna say I haven't lived there either, but that's San Francisco is like the gay capital of the world, so or at least the gay capital of the United States. So that's kind of surprising that it would be that high in that state, and them being a very blue state altogether.
Um, Apparently not. Okay. And then the youth impact is 216 school related anti LGBTQ incidents in 2024. Queer youth in southern and midwestern states report high distress levels.
Well, that part's not surprising. Southern and Midwestern states. I'm in the Midwest, and the South is still very, conservative and homophobic, racist also.
Yeah, right. And I'm in Alaska and it's a red state, okay? And I am very careful.
Oh yeah. So what is it like as
Absolutely.
far as the gay are you very aware of the gay community up there?
No, I basically a creature of habit. I went home and go to work and come home. I haven't been anywhere in this all this time, so I really don't know what's available here.
That's all right. I was just curious. I'd never been up there and haven't heard much about it as far as that goes.
Oh, the other organization is GLAD. Okay, GLAD is very you know about that organization, advocates for the queer community. Have in Washington, you have these what you call them? I forgot what you call it. Anyway, they are advocating for the community. Okay,
Right. Yeah, they're a
so
nonprofit organization, advocacy organization.
yes. So does anybody have any questions for Brandon? Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if there's any comments. So my recommendation, for the community is to build economic empowerment, through investing in queer owned enterprises, financial literacy, equitable workplace policies, economic autonomy equals long term resilience.
So
So the
donating to
more
places like GLAD and other LGBTQ organizations, and uplifting queer writers and creators like me. I mean, if if we if you support us and allow us to continue to write and amplify our voices, that will help us from becoming erased.
Absolutely. They're trying to erase a lot of us, including our history with our ancestors, and putting all these schools in place. And I heard somebody saying they were getting the information that was going out during COVID was from the Heritage Foundation. Okay. And Heritage Foundation, is part of the Republican Party and a part of deprogramming and reprogramming us to their way of thinking. Okay. And that's not going to happen. If I had kids today, they would be homeschooled, period.
Mm, yeah.
You're not going to dictate what I teach my kids. And I don't want you teaching my kids this crap over here. Okay. No, no, no. I'll do that myself. Thank you very much. You've done
Yeah,
enough
they've
for me.
taken out all the black history. They don't want any kind of queer history mentioned. Yeah, that's just rewriting everything to
So so what do I call myself? Okay?
yes.
Do I have to
Yeah,
change my name too?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So do you have any other questions? Anybody have any questions or anything for Brandon?
Netta says voting is critical.
It is, but I can't say it's not rigged, though. In my opinion, I'm just saying they were saying during somebody's thing. They said, "Oh, the polls was what was those boxes?" They said, "Oh, they were rigged. He lost the race because it was rigged." Oh, so when Kamala lost, was that rigged too? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't work the other way around. What do you mean?
I don't trust nothing. Question
Yeah,
everything.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
So if nobody has any questions, if you don't have any comments, then who is that? Who is that? Shar said we have some organizations like Lambert House and Pier Seattle. She said if you can get there are some groups to support them. That's a good thing too. If somebody had to be able to put resources together for people, like, hey, if you go here, you can go here. If you go to this city or town, you can go here. Because back in the day, during the Stonewall time, didn't you have underground places where the gay
they
people
had
used
to be
go?
right.
Yeah, right. And then some people had to be on the lookout. So if the police come in to do a raid to arrest everybody, then you would, because they come and shut the place down and just put everybody in jail, and then all your stuff is exposed. Okay, then you're outed by the police if you weren't out.
Right. Now the good thing is that kind of thing isn't happening as much now. We're able to be out, and these organizations are seen, are visible. But it won't take much for it to go back in the other direction if we're not careful about it.
Yeah, because as I said, all these bills have been introduced, and how do I know?
Yeah.
How do we know which bills are going to be passed and which ones are going to fail? Okay, you have to pay attention to all these local things in your town where you live, so you can be ready if it's not or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to get any protections from the government, period. Not from this administration.
Right.
The only protections you're going to get is the ones you put in place yourself.
Right.
Remember that. So, if there's nothing else, Brandon, I thank you so much for this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you inviting me on. I always enjoy your live sessions. I've listened. I've tuned into several of them.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate you. And you and I had have a connection going on, and I support you 100%. And I'm honored to walk this journey with you.
Thank you very much. I think you're such a dynamic speaker and a great supporter of people that you have on your show, and I was glad to be on here.
Thank you so much. And continue doing what you do. You're a shining light out there for all the queer community, okay? And you should be proud of the work that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you all for coming, and you all take care. Thank you so much.